Disclaimer. This video exists for the purposes of entertainment, education, and theory rebuttal. This video is not an attack on the creator of the theory, nor will it, unless otherwise stated, address the theory creator personally. Instead, the creator's name in this video will be used as either a name to address the theory by, or to address the assumed mindset of the creator at the time of this video's creation. Unless there is substantial evidence, it is not assumed the creator still stands behind the video in question. If you harass or witch hunt anyone involved with this video, I will personally disown you. Thank you. Welcome to a re-recorded intro. Wait, Miku, why are you telling us this is a re-recorded intro? Because I have some explaining to do. So, I found this video when the 1000-Year Door Extreme Randomizer craze was blowing up last year. Yes, Miku specifically went searching out a TTYD theory and ended up landing on top of this video made in 2014 from a channel that now, in 2020, only has a little over 4,000 subscribers. Heck, this channel only announced 1,000 subscribers a little over a year after this video was made. This is definitely the most small-time video I've covered thus far, and it shows. Now, when I found this video, this channel, VGTI as they're called, had been dead for quite some time. I've since discovered, though, that they've actually returned to the channel and have continued to make theories. That's why I want to make this one thing clear. When I cover theories this old, I am not speaking to the present-day iteration of the person that is presenting the theory. I am speaking only to the voice speaking to me in the video. I am essentially speaking to a cardboard cutout and not to an actual person. If VGTI or anyone that knows VGTI want to call me out because VGTI might not stand behind this theory anymore, I never said he did. I'm not talking to him. I'm talking to the theory. I'm just using VG's name as a name to address the theory by, that's all. And VG, in case you're seeing this video, I mean no ill will against you. I hope, though, that you can take the criticisms from this video, if you feel they still apply, and use them to better your content. I'm here to try to build up, not to destroy. Now, let's get going. In this theory, VGTI is setting out to try to convince us that Mario may be a descendant of the Shadow race that the Shadow Queen and the Shadow Sirens are part of. Sounds way out of left field? Yeah, I know. Roll the video!
Hello everyone, this is VGTI, and it's time for even more Mario theories. I actually was not expecting to do this one, because, I was trying to rack my brain for more Mario theory ideas, just for future reference and things like that. And I got some good ideas from people in the comments on my last Mario theories video. Some people suggested to do a theory video on Mario's parents, tying into the theory that I discussed in that video, and I may do that down the line. But there was one idea, or one theory in that video's comments that really stuck out to me. And I read the guy's theory, and he had a lot of evidence to point towards it. And, I just read the whole thing, and I was like, wow, this kind of makes a lot of sense in some ways. So I figured I would discuss it and see what you all think.
Wow, this video is super unscripted and it shows. A script can really help you gather your thoughts to help you keep from stuttering or rambling. You can also cut out stuttering or irrelevant tangents from your audio. It would really help. Oh, also, T-Man5636!
This theory comes to me from a YouTube user named T-Man5636. And shoutouts to you, T-Man5636. Thank you for presenting this theory to me and giving me permission to do a video on it.
Now, T-Man5636, or Lackey Tom as they seem to be called nowadays, is technically the origin point of this theory, but VG, as he's going to state in about half a second, is adding his own ingredients into the mix. So see it as a collaboration, if you will.
So, I'll give you the rundown here. You can see the full story, the full comment on my first Mario Theories video.
Which I had to go find myself. Thanks, VG. It's actually buried pretty far down, too, so I had to do some digging. I found it, though, and I'll be referencing it as the video goes on. I hope you're ready for that. On with the theory.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Whoa, we got Megan! Whoa, 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 whoa!
Now, there are multiple points of interest, multiple sort of coincidences, I guess you could call them.
And boy, are they!
That kind of point towards Mario maybe having some of the Shadow bloodline within him. And the main reason for this is the fact that the crystal stars, which are like the key items in the Thousand Year Door game, the crystal stars only react to Mario. And when I say they only react, I mean like Mario is the only one who can use their like full power. You know what I mean? Other characters, other villains, just various characters and villains and different people have the stars in the game. They're scattered throughout the land, and some of them are aware of it, some of them are not. There's people like Grubba, who was actually using one of the crystal stars for his own gain in his arena fights and stuff like that. And then there are others where it was just hidden and no one knew about it. But it just depends. Like, in the case of Grubba, he did use the crystal star, but he didn't use it in the exact same way as Mario did. It's similar, but not completely similar. What Grubba had to do, he had to hook it up to a machine to use it.
Hi! Just interjecting to let you know that the machine was probably meant to alter the power of the gold star to be used for an unintended purpose. The power given by the gold star is the ability Power Lift, which enhances the user's physical strength and durability. The machine probably altered this power to be able to transfer power from one individual to another, hence why it needed to be hooked up to said machine to serve the purpose it did. Now let's look at the other 6 crystal stars right fast to figure out why none of their powers were used. The Sapphire Star is an easy one. Cortez had no idea of the power of the star and simply thought he had a shiny gemstone. We can knock out the Garnet Star too, as that star is never held by a villain in the course of the game. Instead, it's found in Poshly Sanctum, a place made specifically to hide the star from those who would wish to steal it. Then we get to the harder stars. First is the Diamond Star, held by Hooktail. Hooktail is one of the Shadow Queen's pet dragons, and the castle she resides in, that was stated to be made to accommodate her bulk, was made specifically to house the Diamond Star during the Shadow Queen's rule after she spread the crystal stars across the land to assert her rule. It's likely that after reobtaining the star, Hooktail just picked back up where she left off, not thinking to use the star for her own benefit. The Emerald Star is being held by the Poonies, who protect it from evil, before being briefly stolen by Crump. By that point, though, Crump was much more focused on using his robot to defeat Mario than actually doing anything with the Emerald Star, most likely his enormous ego talking. This can also be used to explain the practically identical scenario with the Crystal Star. The one on the moon, I mean. That just leaves the Ruby Star, and boy oh boy does this one throw a problem in the face of this theory, because Duplis actually did use the power of the Ruby Star to enhance his Duplighost powers and allow him to use the bell and creepy steeple to turn the villagers of Twilight Town into pigs. Too Long didn't listen, this point is kind of bunk. Duplis is laughing in your face.
And the theory that T-Man gave me was this. The theory is that the crystal stars have like this source of unlimited power within them that can be used, as a sort of power source.
They're an unlimited source of power that can be used as a power source. 10 out of 10 redundancy there, mate.
But their full potential cannot be unlocked unless used by a certain person, and in this case, that person is Mario. Now, part of the theory was the fact that because Mario possibly has some of the Shadow bloodline within him, this is why he can use the full power of the crystal stars.
This sounds a lot like something I hear in a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog fanfiction. Basically, the way it goes is that only a hedgehog can use the full power of the Chaos Emeralds, which is why only Sonic, Shadow, and Silver can go super and use Chaos Control and all that. You ever wonder why we've never seen a Super Amy? Amy's a hedgehog too, and we've never seen her use the abilities Sonic, Shadow, and Silver do. On top of that, Super Tails and Super Knuckles actually do exist. I'll give you that they're underwhelming, but they still do exist. Wait, why am I talking about Sonic the Hedgehog and a theory about Mario and the Crystal Stars? Because if we're going to bring up a comparison, we might as well bring it all the way home. Mario is essentially the Super Knuckles in this scenario. Yes, he might not be a hedgehog, but he can still use the Chaos Emeralds in a similar manner to how a hedgehog would. He's possibly not even unlocking the full extent of their power, but he's able to use enough of it. That's what matters here. Checking bringing up Sonic lore in a Mario Theory rebuttal just to rile people up off the bucket list.
Quack, 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 quack. What are you doing? Quack, quack, quack. And then you duck. No, it's not Star Duck. It's Star Wars.
One thing you have to consider about it is the backstory of the Shadow Queen. She created the crystal stars and was going to rule over the world by using their power. But there were 4 heroes that stopped her by stealing the crystal stars and using their powers against her. They sealed her away. But when they did so, she also placed a curse on them in retaliation. And because of this, they became the shadow things inside the chests that you find. The ones that teach Mario's paper abilities in that game. Those cursed chests. When you find those are actually, it doesn't state it outright, but those are actually the 4 heroes that stopped the Shadow Queen so long ago.
Let me give you the rundown on the information VG just relayed to us. Long ago, during the Shadow Queen's rule, 4 heroes rose up to defeat the Shadow Queen. They were able to take the crystal stars and use them to seal away the Shadow Queen. In the process, though, the Shadow Queen cursed them. Once each let go of the last star in their possession, their souls would become trapped inside a black box. Now, which part of this story stands out to you? The heroes were not shadow beings. They were a Toad, a Goomba, a Koopa, and a Boo, yet they were able to use the power of the crystal stars for themselves. This wasn't simple energy-type power either. They used the stars to seal the Shadow Queen away for 1,000 years. I'd applaud VG for punching a hole in his own theory, but I'd be applauding prematurely. Yes, you heard that right.
Now, my theory here is this. Like I said, the original theory is that Mario can use the crystal stars because he is a shadow, and they were created by a shadow, the Shadow Queen to be specific. But my theory is this. I do like that theory, but I also want to add my own theory and see what you guys think.
Wow, get to the point!
When those 4 heroes did that, when they stole the crystal stars and used them against her, you have to realize something. Those 4 heroes were not shadows. They were just simple people. It was a Koopa, a Boo, a Toad, and a Goomba, I believe. And they weren't shadows or anything like that. They were just, normal people. But I think there's something more going on. I think with the way the game is, I think that there's like some kind of destiny going on, Like there's chosen heroes to stop the Shadow Queen throughout time. Those 4 heroes were some of the chosen ones. And Mario himself was also a chosen one. And that's why he could use the crystal stars to their full potential.
Way to dismantle your entire theory not even halfway through. This is a level of complete self-unawareness I haven't seen in a lifetime of theory debunking. No, sir.
Now, that doesn't have to be true, and it kind of diverts it away from the fact that Mario may have the shadow bloodline within him.
You think?
But you could even combine the theories and say that not only is Mario a chosen one, but he's also partially shadow.
Nope, you absolutely do not get to play that card. That's just convoluted and redundant. Mario doesn't need to be a shadow being if being a chosen one already gives him all the access to the crystal stars power he needs. You are backpedaling, good sir. Stop that.
I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Theory's not over though. I'm gonna explain some more. T-Man actually did provide his own explanation for that whole backstory. What my theory is that they could be chosen ones, but T-Man also mentioned something very interesting that I think makes me like his theory even more. He said that the 4 heroes from 1,000 years ago, the ones that stopped the Shadow Queen, he said that it's never really stated that the 4 heroes use the same powers that Mario does when he has the crystal stars. We don't know that for sure. So it could be just that the 4 heroes have magical abilities, and that the crystal stars, being the power sources that they are, powered them up, but they didn't use them to their full potential because they were not shadows. That would make sense, and that would point more towards this whole shadow theory being true. And it would also single out Mario as being a shadow.
Problem, that's an assumption. Going by you guys' own logic, the legend never actually states that all the heroes had magical powers. It states that they all used the crystal stars to seal the Shadow Queen, but the only hero that was ever stated to have magical powers was the Boo, and boy does the legend pound that fact in hard. The Boo's magical powers are brought up a total of 4 times explicitly. The way it's brought up, it sounds like it's meant to show that the Boo was the only one that had these kinds of powers, meaning the other 3 did not. Also, just because it's never stated that the powers they could use with the crystal stars were similar to the ones Mario can use with them, doesn't mean they weren't. They could very well be the same, and you're just making assumptions. And you know what they say about assumptions? They're dumb.
Now, there is another thing that connects to the whole 4 heroes and the cursed chests thing. When you find them, it's the fact that they react to Mario, that Mario can hear their voices. The theory goes that, because the Shadow Queen cursed these heroes and put them in these cursed treasure chests, because they were cursed like that, they were cursed from basically the epitome of the Shadow people, the Shadow Queen. So this is reacting to Mario's shadow blood. The reason that they can sense him, the reason that they are talking to him, is his shadow blood is reacting to or rather, they are reacting to his shadow blood. You know what I mean?
Not at all. You're saying that Mario having shadow blood is the reason why the chest demons can talk to him, yet you're forgetting that other characters can hear the chest demons too. And if you wanted to backpedal and say this means that the curses the chest demons put on Mario can only happen because Mario is a shadow being, there's absolutely no proof for that. You're making assumptions again. Stop it.
And it just kind of points the theory. I'm trying to get my thoughts straight.
This is why we don't go unscripted, kiddos. Or, you could use another take. That would work too, maybe.
Sure.
Now, the next one is a bit of a stretch, as T-Man said. This one is just kind of an interesting coincidence pointed out between Mario and Vivian. Vivian, as you know, is one of the Shadow Sirens, one of the Shadow Sisters of that group of 3. And T-Man's theory is that Mario, being a descendant of the Shadows, he has an ancestor within his family. And it goes way back. We don't know how old shadows can get, but it doesn't seem like they age much, really. The theory goes that Vivian is Mario's ancestor.
I'm done. I hope you realize there's 1,000,001 ways to punt this theory into the stratosphere. For one, there's 0 actual evidence that Vivian is 1,000 years old. In fact, there's more evidence against it than for it. When the Shadow Queen is encountered, the only Shadow Siren she seems to recognize is Beldam. When turning to Mario and Vivian, she remarks, "Who are these beings that stand before me?" implying that she doesn't know Vivian despite her being Beldam's sister. "But Miku," you whine, "aren't all the Shadow beings 1,000 years old?" That's a faulty assumption, good friend. You see, the Shadow beings are a species, and one that isn't necessarily tied to the Shadow Queen at that. Only the Shadow Queen was sealed away. It's unknown what happened to the rest of the Shadow people, but Beldam definitely made it out alive, so plenty of others could have as well. Vivian could have come into being after the defeat of the Shadow Queen, and believe me, that point's going to be extremely important coming up.
Now, that certainly sounds like a crazy conspiracy theory if I've ever heard one, but hear me out real quick, because it's actually not as crazy as it sounds. It does fill in a hole that would be in this theory otherwise.
Which one? In all seriousness, I have no idea what this is even supposed to be patching up. Are you trying to say that we need to know who the Shadow Parent would be for the theory to be valid? If so, that's dumb, because we really don't. Sit back down.
The theory, of course, is that Mario is partly Shadow, so that begs the question, why is it partly Shadow? why does Mario not look like a shadow? Why does he look human? And the reason for that is Vivian herself. She is his ancestor. So why does she not know about who Mario is?
You're going to bring up in a bit that Vivian is dozens upon dozens of generations removed from Mario, so yeah, she wouldn't know who he is. That's a given.
Not to mention the fact that, for some reason, it's very suspicious, Vivian does not have any knowledge of the Crystal Stars or the Palace of Shadow in that game. She has no knowledge of those things, which is really weird considering who they were made by, the Shadow Queen herself. You'd think Vivian would know something like that, but she doesn't.
Let's go back to my previous point right fast. If Vivian came into existence after the defeat of the Shadow Queen, it makes perfect sense why she wouldn't know about the Palace of Shadow or the Crystal Stars. She was never in contact with any of that and would only know what Beldam decided to tell her, which, considering their rocky relationship, would probably be very little. Even if Vivian was around 1,000 years ago, her ignorance of the Crystal Stars and the Palace of Shadow can still be explained. She could have just been ignorant and never gone to the palace or concerned herself with the Crystal Stars and the Shadow Queen's reign of terror. Now, you could tell me those are assumptions, and I could tell you that that doesn't even matter. I can counter assumptions with assumptions. If someone comes at me with a sword, I should be able to use a sword to fight back, especially if the evidence gun is a little low on bullets. I'll get back to this tangent in my final thoughts, though, because it's better to have it there than here when we still have a point to get back to.
So, this starts to create a sort of backstory to Vivian, and the story, or at least the theory of that story, is this. Vivian fell in love with a human, and they had a child, and that child fell in love with another human, and so on and so forth, and it just kept going on for years and years and years, generation after generation, until it eventually got to Mario. And with each passing generation, the shadow part of the bloodline got a little weaker, until eventually it got to Mario. He looks completely human, but he has part shadow blood within him.
And we're tying this into absolutely nothing. Congratulations, you get the I Made a Theory with Zero Evidence award.
Now, why doesn't Vivian remember anything? Why doesn't she have knowledge of things she should have knowledge about? Well, you have to consider her sisters, the other two sirens, mainly Beldam. You know how they are, you know how Beldam is. They are not nice people, and judging by how the shadow people are, chances are falling in love with a human was probably forbidden. So Beldam decided to teach Vivian a lesson, killed her husband, and wiped Vivian's memory of the entire thing. Her entire memory of her husband, her child, and all of her descendants. This memory wiping also erased Vivian's memory of things that she should have knowledge about, things like the Crystal Stars and stuff like that. But, you know, being how Vivian is, she had a bit of her original personality left, even after getting her mind, her memory erased. And that is why Vivian is the only nice Shadow Siren, why she does not remember any of this stuff, and why Mario, even being partly Shadow, looks human.
Wow, does this theory feel like a million disparate parts that VG keeps trying to smash together over and over again? Vivian doesn't have to have her memory wiped to be the only nice Shadow Siren. She doesn't have to have had her memory wiped to have no knowledge of the Crystal Stars, and she doesn't need to be the ancestor of Mario for him to be a shadow being. The only things connecting anything together are tangential threads of coincidence, and it's getting really annoying to sit through.
The last two things I want to talk about here are more coincidental than anything.
More coincidental than literally everything else in this video? Doubtful.
They're not like big contributors to the theory, but they are worth mentioning because they do get you thinking a little more about it. The first of which is, I'll start with the most coincidental small thing out of these two, and that's the fact that, remember when Dupless turns Mario into a shadow?
Whoa, hold up! This is the most coincidental point of the theory? This is the point I've been waiting to show up since before I even watched the video. This is the point that would support your theory the most. My gosh, why is everything about this video backwards?
or rather, he steals Mario's body and Mario becomes a shadow briefly. When that happens, Mario is purple colored. His skin is purple. That is the exact same skin color as the other shadows in the game. Vivian and Bellum and the Shadow Queen and just all of the other shadows. That's what Mario looks like. Now, whether this means that he's actually a shadow or not, that's up for debate. It could just be a stylistic choice, like, hey, that's how shadows look, so that's how Mario's gonna look when he's a shadow. But it doesn't have to mean that he's actually a shadow. But it's still worth mentioning nonetheless.
VG! Love you, dude, but can you maybe not debunk yourself? That's my job, buddy. Yeah, even though I said this is the point that would support this theory the most, that doesn't mean it's not still flawed. Besides what VG just brought up, I can even add that Mario in this form is completely purple, unlike the Shadow Beings, which only have purple skin while their other features remain differently colored. On top of that, why would Dupless stealing Mario's identity bring out a Shadow Being form in Mario? Dupless doesn't even react in a weird way to it. This is normal to him. This is just what Dupless's victims turn into when he steals their identities, nothing more.
The other thing out of these two actually involved Prince Mush from Grubba's chapter in the game. It's a little less coincidental just because it's very strange.
This is the most coincidental point of the theory, though! This entire theory is backwards!
I don't know if you guys remember, or if any of you have played The Thousand Year Door, but during Grubba's chapter, one of the big mysteries that goes on in that chapter involves one of the characters, Jolene. She has a brother named Prince Mush. He's a toad, and he mysteriously vanished. You find out later that Grubba kidnapped him because of what was going on, and he stored him inside his machine. But here's the thing. For some reason, and it's never really explained why, Prince Mush reappears out of the machine after Mario defeats Grubba and gets the Crystal Star back. Now, Prince Mush explains that he doesn't know why this has happened, and the game never really elaborates on that. It doesn't really explain what that means. But I will elaborate more. Basically, after Mario defeats Grubba and gets the Crystal Star back, Prince Mush mysteriously appears out of the Crystal Star. And it's explained that Grubba drained Prince Mush's power to the point that Prince Mush was no more. And apparently he was inside the Crystal Star. And it's never really explained why he was in there, or what happened to him while he was in there, or why he reappeared.
And T-Man's theory on this was that because Mario is partly shadowed, the Crystal Star reacted to Mario's wishes. Mario took pity on Jolene and her grief over her missing brother, and he wished for Prince Mush to come back. And the Crystal Star, now out of Grubba's hands, reacted to Mario's wishes because he is a shadow, and it granted his wish.
I can't even with this theory, I swear. This shouldn't be that hard a concept to grasp. Grubba drained Mush's power with the Gold Star to the point that Mush was completely absorbed into the Gold Star. When Grubba was defeated and the Gold Star was neutralized, though, the energy went back to the people it was stolen from, which in turn also revived Prince Mush. This is really not that hard a thing to understand.
Now, this could also go with my other theory of Mario just being a chosen one, but the shadow theory is a lot more interesting.
If you can explain it with another option that's less reliant on blatant coincidence, you probably shouldn't be using it as evidence. Also, stop doing my job for me. It's my job for a reason. I think you're confusing interesting with plausible here, buddy. I can say it's more interesting for Mario to be a dinosaur man that transforms into Godzilla under the light of the full moon, but if the evidence is outside my favor, I can't remotely say it's plausible or that it can be applied to the canon lore of the Mario series. Essentially, VG is done, but that doesn't mean I'm done. No, sir. I still have a couple points from Lackey Tom's comment I want to bring up. The first point I want to contest is one that I'm actually surprised VG didn't bring up, as it's a pretty strong point at first glance. Tom uses fire to connect Vivian and Mario, saying that they're connected since they both have fire-based abilities. The problem is that while yes, this is true, Mario's abilities kind of stem from places that aren't his own, namely Fire Flowers and the Fire God from Oho Island, if you want to use the Fire brand as evidence. They're not actually inherent within him, meaning this is kind of a moot point. The second point I want to bring up is Tom's explanation of why the Crystal Stars helped Mario in the final battle against the Shadow Queen. He attributes it to Mario's Shadow Blood and the Crystal Stars thinking he's wanting to overthrow the Shadow Queen and become the new ruler of the Shadow Kingdom, except that A, the Crystal Stars are stated to not be able to recognize intent as they can't distinguish good from evil, And B, the 4 heroes used the crystal stars as well, and it's pretty much certain that the crystal stars weren't thinking they were wanting to become the next shadow rulers, as it's been defined by this theory's rules that the 4 heroes did not have shadow blood. And that's pretty much it. Time for my final thoughts. This theory was so dedicatedly built upon coincidence that it's probably far more likely I have shadow blood than Mario. Because we don't know much of anything about the shadow race or even those members of said race we actually get to see, assumptions are really the only way to get anything done. I know that. The point is that there's way too much of it. I'm going to rehash my main complaint against Sans' Nest for a moment here. There are times when circumstance can mean something if enough of it exists. But if your only points are random bits of extreme unfounded circumstance, you really need to rethink your theory. The problem is that relying on circumstance introduces variables. Either what you said could be true, or another interpretation of the same circumstance could be true. When you're looking to make theories stronger, you want as few variables as possible, as few questions as possible. When people start questioning things, they start questioning the plausibility of your theory. They start finding alternate interpretations for your circumstantial evidence that seem much more plausible than the ridiculously slim chances you present. This theory relies on 101 different tiny things coming together in exactly the right way when it's 1,000% more plausible to say they're unrelated and move on. You're reaching for straws all the way across the table, man. There's a time to declare a theory dead and move on. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a 40-minute video of highlights from an extreme randomizer session to upload on my other channel. I recorded it specifically to tie back to this video, but I was a little late to the punch. See ya.